Wizards of the Coast needs to hire a plumber because good lord there's a lot of leaks. Today we've got 5 secret layers to talk about. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Welcome to my video where we talk about the 5 secret layer leak. Man, there have been a crazy amount of leaks with Magic the Gathering recently. I already put out a video earlier today before this secret layer news broke talking about another leak where the new Commander deck from Commander Legends got leaked. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So actually, if you haven't watched the earlier video, I cover a number of different news snippets, so go and have a look. I guess I'll toss it up at the end of this video and you can just click the link there. We'll talk about the secret layers, then you can go and do that. So, before we dive into the secret layers, a moment to speak of veracity, all right? Basically to figure out what the chances are of these being real. Having looked over everything before making the video, like off the surface, there's nothing that like screams red flag, although there is the one that makes you go, but Wizards has wandered kind of outside of what they do normally anyway. So we'll touch on that. But I just want to bring up the fact that it was either yesterday or the day before that Alpha Investments was talking about spoiling however many secret layers were coming. So this could be a legitimate kind of leak, or this just could be somebody taking advantage of the fact that there's a heightened interest in this now and the groundwork has been laid, right? When people hear something from an online personality that they trust, then it turns into a situation where they go, okay, well, this seems likely to happen, because in all honesty, Rudy's got a pretty good track record with the early leaked information. So him putting it out there gives a certain amount of credibility to this. If he comes out and says the same kind of secret layers, then obviously that's going to add another layer. But either way, I wanted to say that these feel likely as secret layers. However, I can't guarantee that they are. Now, all that yammering out of the way, let's talk about what's going down. These secret layers are slated to be released on November 30th. That's when it's going down. I guess that's supposed to be Cyber Monday, but more importantly, November 30th is my birthday. So that's a pretty good day to pick to release a bunch of cool new stuff. Now, the first secret layer that we're going to talk about is arguably the weirdest one because it's focused around Bob Ross. Kind of weird, right? But the idea is supposed to be happy little gathering, and they don't have specifics in terms of the prices, $30 to $40. I'm guessing because it's foil or non-foil, or maybe they're just guessing on the price, right? Because Wizards doesn't have to set the price in stone nearly as early as they do the cards in. They have to decide what's going to get new art, get it all done and everything, but the price can be changed right up until launch date. So, $30 to $40 for 10 basic lands with Bob Ross paintings on them. So for each basic land type, you will get 2 different lands that have Bob Ross paintings. Now, I imagine most people watching this are familiar with Bob Ross, but if you're not, Bob Ross is like a retro television painter. He used to go on TV and just paint things. He would just paint like nice nature scenes and stuff like that. And it's interesting to watch the paintings come together because at first it doesn't look like anything, but when you know what you're building and you know the step-by-step way of doing things, you see how it comes together. So he would just run this show that would teach you to paint. But he seemed like such a kind-hearted soul. Like if you hear the stories behind the scenes about the guy, there would be people who would write into the show, and if he hadn't heard from them for a while, he would actually write them letters and make sure they were okay. And I get that, man. Sometimes when there are people who have like come to my live streams or to the channel and I haven't heard from them for a while, I'm like, I wonder where they are. And sometimes I reach out to them as well. I'm not saying I'm on that guy's level. He's a much nicer person than me. I'm not a good person. But regardless, I think that's really cool. So Bob Ross has had somewhat of a resurgence in more recent times where he's not exactly a meme, but it's like meme-ish, but in the wholesome, like we're enjoying it kind of way. Like they just, apparently the current day and age said, you know what? We can do with some Bob Ross. So there are Bob Ross streams that run on Twitch where it's literally him doing his painting and people will paint along. There are other people on Twitch who do Bob Ross painting streams. it's become an established thing. Even Magic creators specifically have been doing Twitch streams painting this kind of thing. I've seen it here or there. It's not like the hugest phenomenon in the Magic sphere, but at the same time, Wizards is trying to reach out into different areas, right? We've seen it with the Godzilla stuff. We've seen it clearly with the Walking Dead stuff. So this is another element like that where it's like, hey, Bob Ross seems pretty popular, and in all honesty, seems like a natural fit for the basic lands. I mean, there's a part of your brain that goes, I don't know, that sounds so crazy, that puts it in the maybe this isn't real category. But also, the idea is, it's a winning idea. Like, if Wizards isn't doing it, they should. It's a really cool idea. If you're a Bob Ross fan, having lands that are paintings by him, you don't even have to think about it. It's a no-brainer, right? So that seems to me like a pretty cool concept for the first secret layer. Now, obviously, when it comes to pictures, when it comes to the pictures and things like that to deal with this, there's no point in me putting up the cards because we're going to be looking at like different card art and stuff, right? And this isn't even an automatically official list. So the next one we're going to look at is the secret layer Seb McKinnon. It's just called Seb McKinnon, but I'll be real. Secret layer Seb McKinnon is enough for me to instantly want. Do you know what I mean? Like, Seb McKinnon is a classic Magic artist. And I don't mean that to say he's been around forever. What I mean is that, like, if you were around at the beginning of Magic, you would have seen very distinctive art styles from different creators. Now, I'm not knocking Magic's current, like, group of artists because they're incredibly talented. I couldn't do what they do. But at the same time, at the beginning of Magic, you had a bunch of very distinctive artists, right? Like, Quentin Hoover had a really striking and noticeable style. Richard Kane Ferguson had a really striking and noticeable style. And there are a lot of artists like that. I'm not going to go and list them all. Just tossing a couple examples out there, right? But in more recent times, there are fewer pieces that when you see them, you immediately go, I know who painted that. Like, Seb McKinnon's artwork is gorgeous. The man is incredibly talented. Like, Magic artists are really talented, but he feels like a step above. He's in the top shelf, top tier Magic artist, to the point where, like, you look at his artwork and your brain goes, we're going to lose him one day, because, like, his talent is such a high level that unless he loves doing Magic, he's just going to move on to bigger projects where he makes more money and his art is shared with more people. And that's completely understandable because the guy is amazing. His artwork is top notch, right? So he's a classic artist in that he will always be recognizable and stand out. So putting his name on a secret layer, that again, just like the Bob Ross one, guaranteed moneymaker. Now, the cards that are going to be included in this one are Damnation, which is your 4 casting cost, destroy all creatures in play, but it's a black version of Wrath of God. You've got Enchanted Evening, which is your 5 casting cost enchantment that turns all permanents in play into enchantments while it's out. You've got the Soar of Temptation, which is 4 mana for a 2/2 flyer that, as long as it's in play, you get to steal one of your opponent's creatures, kind of like Agent of Treachery, but a small flying fey creature, you know? And then a Full Art Swamp. That's very random. The Full Art Swamp thing is random. That, like, that's so weird that for me, it actually makes it feel more real than fake, in all honesty. All right, well, let's move on, because that one's really exciting. Like, so far, out of the 2 secret layers that we've talked about, those are super exciting. And the next one, again, Wizards looks like they're hitting particular niches. Hope You Like Squirrels is the name of it. And right away, you're like, you've got my attention. So, $40, foil only is the information being provided, which makes me say $30. The previous one is foil and non-foil, 30 non-foil, 40 foil. Okay, so $40, Squirrels only comes in foils. You get Chowder of the Squirrel, which makes 1/1 squirrel tokens. You get the Croson Beast, which is a 1/1 for 4 mana that, like, becomes huge once you have 7 cards or more in your graveyard. It gets like +7/+7. You got a Squirrel Mob, which gets bigger for the squirrels you have. I'm not 100% sure on some of these. Squirrel Wrangler, which, if I'm not mistaken, is actually an uncard, right? Then you've got Swarm Yard, which is the land that taps to regenerate squirrels and insects and other creature types as well. But obviously squirrels are the main, like, that's what this one's about. And then you've got a squirrel token. So, I mean, overall, yeah, I guess, like, there's, this one to me is, like after I look at it, I go, okay, you've got my attention when you say squirrels. The squirrel cards included are, I mean, I feel like this one's obviously heavily marketed on the fact that it's squirrels. So the artwork choice, I think, is going to be a really big like factor determining whether this one will be heavily ordered or not. I'm not really sure, but to me, out of the ones we've talked about so far, this is the least exciting, but still cool. Then we've got a box of rocks. This makes me think about a couple of things. Just the idea of buying a box of rocks or getting a box of rocks. It makes me think of Charlie Brown and that whole like, I want to trick-or-treating. I got a rock. Or like, what'd you get for Christmas? I got a rock. Also makes me think of pet rocks. I don't know like how many of you guys remember that, but actually I just had like 3 or 4 days ago, one of my friends on Facebook shared a picture of like a pet rock being sold online and was like, can you believe people pay for this? And I'm like, pet rock was patented back in like 1975, dude. People have been buying rocks for like almost 50 years now. So a box of rocks, but in this case, they mean mana rocks, all right? And this one's foil and non-foil, 30-40, same deal. In this one, you get Arcane Signet, which is that new commander mana rock that they made specifically in the Brawl decks that taps for a mana that your commander is and only costs 2 to put out, so it's really good. Then you got Chromatic Lantern, that's 3 to put out, and it basically makes all your lands tap for a mana of any color, and it also taps for a mana of any color. Pretty solid. Then you got Commander's Sphere, which is the little sack common that was in most commander decks that costs 1 to drop that people seem to be a big fan of. Doesn't seem like a bad choice. I mean, this may as well have been called Commander Rocks, let's be real, right? Then you've got Dark Steel Ingot, which I have to admit is a bit of a weird choice now, considering that like that Skyclave Relic they just recently made is way better than Dark Steel Ingot. Like, Dark Steel Ingot has been so outclassed, it feels like at this point. But maybe people use both of them. You know what? I don't play Commander, and you can only use 1 copy of a card, so what do I know? Maybe Dark Steel Ingot is still the goodness, but I feel like the Skyclave Relic is just a Dark Steel Ingot plus, so I don't know. If it hasn't been obsoleted, then sure. And then you get the last one, which is Gilded Lotus, and this is cool as well. It's an interesting choice. I mean, it's a 5-drop that taps for 3 mana of any color. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm curious how these are going to be represented. They're calling it a box of rocks. So is it just going to be like they're calling it that because they're colloquially known as mana rocks? Or is it because they're going to be depicted with like rock style artwork, which is a cool idea. I dig that. That like this one is pretty solid. Like if you compare this to the squirrel one, I feel like there's going to be much more demand for this one. Probably a lot of commander players grabbing that. And the final secret layer is called Party Hard Shred Harder. $30 non-foil only. All right. Now this one is just about destroying cards, but maybe it's going to be done from like a rock anthem. We got a rock and roll guitar kind of idea. I don't know. Either way, the cards are Anguished Unmaking, which is 4 mana. It's either exile or destroy a permanent, and you lose 3 life, right? Then you got Assassin's Trophy, which is 2 mana to destroy a permanent, but the control of the permanent can get a basic land, slap it into play. Then you got Decimate. Oh, which one's Decimate again? Oh, that's the one where you destroy like a land, a creature, an artifact, or and an enchantment. You have to pick like 4 of them, and it's like 4 different targets. They all have to be different types specified, and you smash them all. It's an interesting choice. You got Dreadbore, which is 2 mana to destroy a creature or planeswalker. And you get Thraxamundar, who is a crazy legendary creature that whenever he attacks, your opponent has to sacrifice a creature. There's other stuff that goes along with it, and I can't remember it right now, but when I play normally, like with my cube, I remember Thraxamundar just constantly like making me sack creatures when he attacks. It's just he's such a beefcake. So to me, I don't know, man. I genuinely picture this as like, are they going to do this as some kind of weird, like, rock and roll themed secret layer with, like, guitar players or stuff? Like, it could be anything, right? Like, some of the other ones, like Mana Rocks, okay, you know what, that's Squirrels, okay, what are they going to do with that? I mean, the Bob Ross is obvious, too. This is the one where the name of it is the most nebulous to me in terms of how it will connect to the secret layer. So, bear in mind again, my friends, the possibility that this information may not be an actual leak However, it feels genuine enough to me that it was worth making a video about. I do like the idea of these secret layers. I do like the idea of them coming out on my birthday. That makes it really easy. People are like, what do you want as a birthday gift? And it's like, a box of rocks? Wink, wink. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below, my friends. What I'm going to do at the end of the video is I'll link up my earlier news video. I'll link up the lore video as well, the new one from my lore channel, all right? So if you like what I'm doing here, like, comment, subscribe. It's all great for the channel. I appreciate it. If you love what I'm doing here, jump on my Patreon. Other than that, I guess it's time for me to go. Goodbye, my friends.